Well, welcome back. Not too long ago, I did a little review on this YZXstudio dummy load. Variable amperage, does about 0 to 2.5 amps, I think was the actual range on it. It was very quiet, it was very efficient, it didn't get too hot. And I also happened to mention in that review that this potentiometer is a little sensitive for adjusting the actual load that you're trying to get. Now when I say a little sensitive, I mean, well, considering the range that it's adjusting, 0 to 2.5 amps, it only has about a 75% travel. So I'm thinking we need to put something on here that will give it some more turns. And while we're at it, we're going to make this easier to work with other projects. We have this little silk screen right here, this little square box, and this is actually meant for a terminal block, so there's no need to make a female USB to, positive negative wire, or maybe some sort of jump off board or anything like that. They've already laid this out for us. All we need to do is take a terminal block here and solder that into position as well. So I'm going to go ahead and install that terminal block, but first we have to figure out what resistor we're going to have to put in this potentiometer's place. So we're going to need an equivalent potentiometer to actually put in its place. Let's unsolder it first. So hopefully I remembered to install the correct tip. And I don't think that is. I think I got one smaller. But I actually may need the bigger tip too, now that I'm thinking about it. Because we have a couple big junctions here that hold that potentiometer in place. These two big junctions right there. The 3 pins, of course, are right along these resistors, and then there's also a little FET there that you have to be careful with. It's going to be a little tight position. So we'll start on the big one. Now I think these are even slightly too large for even my biggest tip for my desoldering gun to get all around it, and it is. So what I'm going to do is, a little trick I learned trying to pull out the bigger parts, we're actually going to cut that pin in half. Just enough so I can actually get my desoldering tip around it and pull that out. That should be good. Let's go ahead and check that again. Yep, looks like that'll work. Now because this thing is, well, it's a big heatsink, it's going to be better to load this solder up, causing a bigger joint to melt so it melts all the way through. And also because it's a big heatsink, I may have to turn my iron up a little higher. Looks like that's going to be a must, no doubt. Alright. Now let's take this gun and pull this off. There we go. That sounded really nice. So did that. I think we may be good. And because those pins are right on the outside, I'm going to have to still take a normal soldering iron and give it a little bit of a heat when I go to pull this out. But before we can do that, we have to free up our smaller parts here. Give it a little bit of solder. There we go. go ahead and get these 3 pins out. That should do it. Should be able to break that free. Flat screwdriver here. So you just give it a little bit of a torque and heat that pin up. It's actually a little better to go side to side in this case. Almost wish they didn't make this a non-standard size there, but that's okay, it happens. But we definitely have 3 very nice clean holes, at least on the smaller one where that soldering gun took out those 3 pins. Right there, right in between that FET and those 4 resistors. So we're ready to put the new one in. As soon as we take a measurement and double check to see what kind of potentiometer we just pulled out of there. Let's take a reading on this. $9,200, 9,000. Okay, so that's what I thought. So now that we have it out, we know for sure that we need a higher turn potentiometer. I would probably call it a 10,000. Actually, I wouldn't go 9,000. I think it's supposed to be 10,000 by spec. Let's go find ourselves a 103 potentiometer here. 504, 204, 503. There we go. 103. That's what I need. Before we go ahead and do this, measure the 2 outer pins. 10.178. Perfect. Because we got this big fan and we got this heatsink thing going on and everything, I'm going to put the screw towards the USB port. Less of a chance of slipping off, you know, when you're trying to adjust it, and slipping into the blades of the fan at that point. So we're going to keep it screw towards the actual USB plug here. Let's go ahead and give it some flux. Clean our tip up. Okay, perfect. And we have it. Now we have a 20 turn, 10,000 ohm potentiometer in here. Should be a lot easier to adjust. And before we go doing any more work at this point, we're going to do a quick test on it. Double check to see which way we're actually turned here. That's exactly what I expect to see. Beautiful. I don't know if I can do this and keep it on camera at the same time. I can sure try. But you see we're sitting right where I expect it to be. So let's go ahead and turn this up. I should be able to get a maximum of 2.5 amps. And I can tell you right now, this is a lot easier to adjust. Like if I was to go for a half an amp, I can actually bring that in tune a lot faster than playing with that bigger one. And this isn't even warmed up yet. Look at that. That is nice. Okay, I do like this potentiometer a lot better. Let's go ahead and get back in the slot. And let's bring it all the way up to 2.5. Here's 2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.43, so we're clicking out. 2.436 actually. But again, as I mentioned, it's not warm. As I feel the fan actually heating up, you can watch this climb, it will hit 2.5. This usually takes about 3 minutes to warm up typically. So we'll bring this back down and see how much easier I can actually adjust this to 2 now. I guess you can warm it up faster if you turn it up all the way, huh? Definitely better than cold. Trying to warm it up while it's cold, that doesn't really work that well. Look at that. That is nice. I like how easy that was to adjust. Okay. Definitely happy with that. Everything seems to be working good. Now we're going to make it more functional, so I don't have to use this little power supply USB adapter I made here. And I can tie this in with other projects that I decided to use. And we're going to drop our little terminal block in here. So again, this should be fairly simple, but do remember this is a big heatsink. Although I actually just heated up the big heatsink, so it may actually solder a lot faster and a lot easier this time since we did heat it up there. May actually work to my advantage. As long as it doesn't cool down too fast. And we'll turn off the soldering equipment. And let's take our pin trimmers and trim this up. Looks good. Alright, so the finished result. I don't have a pointer. Finished result is we have our terminal block soldered in right here. Not too close, is it not focusing right? Yeah, there it goes. And the 3 pins here for the potentiometer. These 2 are wide open now, but of course, you know, I don't have 2 big metal pins that have to be held in place there like before. And it's still clearly marked. The terminal block doesn't cover up the positive and negative sign. You can actually see that on the board there. It still says positive and negative. And if you ever questioned it, or if your terminal block is too big where it actually covers that up, it's still on the opposite side as well. You have your positive and negative as well. Alright, now that we got everything cleaned up here and everything's trimmed, we have our 20 turn 10,000K potentiometer, we have our terminal block hooked up. Let's go ahead and put it in line with the multimeter, run from the power supply, and do a quick test on everything, make sure everything's functional. So we'll start by throwing the positive on the terminal block. Open that up. There we go. And I believe I already had this negative jumping over to this jumper. So let me get my test leads out of the way here. Set this aside. So this is going to be my out, this is going to be my in. We'll change this over to DC amperage on 6. Drop the negative in here. And I actually prefer the screwdriver much more over my other one. Turn it a lot faster. I'm just confirming that's turned all the way down. Seems like it is. Let's go ahead and get my voltage on the power supply. We will give it a 6.5, and we'll do 2.6 amps. So we turn it on. Definitely have a fan. We're showing 55 pulled here, we're showing 56 here. Pretty much they do agree with each other. I do like that. I didn't expect that kind of accuracy from a I won't call it a cheap power supply. It is definitely middle of the road power supply, but it's been very good for me anyway. Let's go ahead and turn this up. Seem to be following each other perfectly. Put it at a 0.5 amp. There it is. Great. Alright, bring it the rest of the way. Now, especially on a 6.5 digit multimeter, to adjust this to 2 amps so I can do a calibration on certain things was very difficult before with the other potentiometer. So let's go ahead and see. And of course this isn't warm yet, so as it heats up it's still going to increase a little bit on me. But if I give that the 3-minute warm-up time before I try to do this, it'd probably be much easier. Because I'm turning it down and it's going up. It's still way easier than it was before, without a doubt. Now that I'm under, I'll leave it there. Whoops, it jumped on me. But I would call that a pretty stable 2 amps. I really can't complain about that. I mean, that's the maximum resolution of the thing that I need to calibrate right there. You can see it's still turning on me a little bit because it's warming up. Cannot complain about that at all. I'm gonna call you my probe monkey from now on. You are officially my monkey probe. Anybody want to see my monkey probe? That is my monkey probe. My monkey is going to hold my probes from now on. And no, I'm not going to put the probes where you just saw either. I'm going to put the probes behind the monkey's ears. Not in that other spot. That is my monkey probe. Thanks for watching. Please go ahead and click subscribe so you're notified of any future videos coming out. And you'll also get to see my monkey probe again. Possibly. Keep subscribing and keep coming back, keep watching, keep tinkering, keep playing, keep having fun, breaking stuff, taking it apart, putting it back together, fixing it. Either way, it's a learning experience, it's enjoyable, it's fun, do it safely,